When I was 33 years old, I was told I had 2 years left to live. I sat in the office of my physician. Let me call him Dr. G. Dr. G was one of the preeminent AIDS doctors in Manhattan. I had been diagnosed with HIV and my blood counts were dropping fast. The only medication available back in 1989 was highly toxic, and I refused to take it. You will be in the hospital within 2 years, Dr. G said to me with his serious doctor face. That will be the beginning of the end. How would you live your life if you only had 2 years left to live? That question is in many ways a cliche, except that I lived that question. I left my job as a professional theater director in New York, and I moved to a small island in the Caribbean, Tobago, 30,000 people. I became a windsurfer on Tobago. I became a very, very good one. When I left to return to Manhattan 2 years later, I had not died. In fact, my blood work looked better than it looked 2 years prior. I got another job again, and I got health insurance again. That is a very American concern. Tobago was my limitless moment. It showed me that I could leave everything behind, everything that I thought I could not. It showed me that every story I told myself about what I had to hold on to was a lie. I could go back and start again. I could. The menu is not the meal, said Alan Watts, the celebrated counterculture guru of the 1950s and 60s. We all love to study the menu. We may agonize over what to order from the menu. We may complain about what's not on the menu. We are likely to compare the menu in front of us to menus we have seen in other restaurants. That is insanity. The menu is not the meal. Yet we spend our entire lives dissecting the menu, and we steadfastly limit our experience of the meal. I had a little dream house for a while. The photo behind me shows you part of the garden in that house. This house was very much a Florida dream. It had a lush tropical garden. It had a pool deck. There was a guest house in back with an office. I called this place my little compound. It was a sanctuary. I was happy there. When I sold this compound, my friends were stunned. How could I let it go? Here's the deal. I had made that dream happen. It was time for another dream. That dream was a dream of the younger version of myself. We all get attached to old dreams. We get attached to our certainty. We get attached to the purity of our intentions. When I sold this home, I was violating an unspoken taboo. It goes like this. We don't ever sell our dream. We stay stuck in old dream jail. We die in our dream. Many of us, and I include myself, are busy creating limitations all the time. If you have ever been looking for a romantic partner, you probably have had a list of traits for what you look for in that person. You are proud of the fact that your list was very, very specific. You had been told that the more specific the list is, the more likely it is that you will manifest that person. At the same time, we are eliminating all sorts of other extraordinary humans that do not fit our partner menu. You profess certainty about your ideal next job, the perfect city or country to live in, the perfect school for your children. We pride ourselves on our certainty. And we forget how limiting our certainty can actually be. This fellow is my friend Doug Kirkpatrick. You may look at this photo and think to yourself, well, that's a kind-looking gentleman. Don't be fooled. Doug is one of the most radical people I know. Doug has written a bunch of books about how we conduct business, and he challenges every belief that we have. The No Limits Enterprise is one of my favorites. I want to talk to you about Morningstar. Morningstar is a manufacturing company 60 miles south of Sacramento, California. It is the largest tomato processing company in the world. It processes 5 million tons of tomatoes every year, and it has an annual revenue of over $1 billion. Doug was there in 1990 when a fellow named Chris Roofer founded Morningstar. Doug was the designated controller. Chris called an early meeting to discuss his ideas about how to organize this new company. I don't want to have any bosses, he said, and I don't want us to have any hierarchies. I want our mission to be the boss. And he described 2 guiding principles that were important to him. Number 1, we will not have any people forcing or coercing other people. And number 2, we are committing to the things we're doing and we honor our commitments. That sounds pretty straightforward, right? Except you may be scratching your head. Wait a minute, no boss, no bosses. How the heck will that possibly work? Decisions at Morningstar are made collectively by the people who are closest to the tasks. This is an organizational model called SelfManagement. When Gary Hamel from the Harvard Business Review wrote about Morningstar, he summarized his findings in the following way. The ideal at Morningstar is freedom. Now, there are systems for making decisions. There are scorecards for tracking productivity, but there are no bosses, none. In the workforce of the future, hierarchies are dead. I think of an example from my own life. I served on the board of a civic association in a city just south of Miami in Florida. 3 of us were the main drivers on that board. While we had titles, whatever we did transcended anything that the title said. When we made a commitment to something, each one of us individually, we ran with our commitments. We were fully in. We did not ask for approvals. We worked fast, and we each got to do our very best work. Because it was so, this civic association had an outsized impact on the political life of this city. More importantly, we had fun. We had loads and loads of fun. Why does that matter? Uri Hassan is a neuroscientist and a professor at Princeton University. Hassan studies how two or more people get into sync. He calls this process neural coupling. He has done an exceptional TED Talk where he explains some of the research that he's done. Now, what he has discovered is there's a part of the brain called the insula where most of the coupling takes place. The insula is connected to our feeling states. In other words, what we feel is more important than what we think. When I feel excited and you feel excited, our excitement gets amplified. When I feel joy and you feel joy, our joy gets magnified. Emotions matter. Joy begets more joy. Hang out with the joy makers. Start there. I'm going to take you back to Manhattan the day before this event happened, September 10, 2001. It was just another ordinary Monday evening in Manhattan. I was going to attend a fundraising event for an AIDS organization with a friend. I stood outside of a church in Hell's Kitchen where this was taking place. And then I saw him, Dr. G, my AIDS doctor, the one who had predicted my imminent death. I had not seen Dr. G in over 10 years. I did not go up to him that evening because I wasn't sure he would remember me. Dr. G did not look well. He was a little older, of course, 10 years has passed, but mostly he looked tired and worn out. I, on the other hand, felt radiantly alive, and I thought I looked pretty damn good. Now, I don't say this with a big sense of glee. I don't necessarily know why I am not one of the ones who has died. I imagine that Dr. G attended hundreds of memorial services for his patients who were dead. I attended memorial services for my dead friends. We had traveled the road of loss and grief. But one thing was very, very clear to me that evening as I ran into Dr. G again. I thought to myself, I don't know what kind of stories Dr. G tells himself, but I am glad I did not listen to his story for me. It was not a story of possibility. It was not a story of hope. It was a story of limits, the sort of limits that get us nothing. I don't windsurf anymore. What you see behind me is the Supera swimming pool in Stubal, where I live. These days, I swim serious distances, 2 kilometers at a time, 5 times a week. And that is swimmer me on the screen. In Supera, sometimes I have a lane to myself. Sometimes I share a lane with another person. When I swam laps in the swimming pools of downtown Manhattan, there were always 4 or 5 people per lane. The lanes were all clearly marked: slow, fast, medium, breaststroke, freestyle. There was very little joy in the swimming pools of downtown Manhattan. Now I have to tell on myself. I like to have a lane just for me. When another person slips into my lane, I have noticed, I immediately have this thought, I wish they would go to another lane. As if they had invaded something that I don't own in the first place. Then, however, something altogether different happens every time. My Portuguese co-swimmer always seeks a little moment with me. We have a mini negotiation. Are we swimming rounds? Are we staying on our side? And sometimes there's a quick introduction. Hello, I'm João, I'm Ana. This moment with another swimmer never, ever, ever happened in Manhattan. This moment always touches me. We are sharing a limited resource. We are co-creating our experience of this exquisite swimming lane. We are doing it mindfully, and we are doing it with respect. Now, I still like to have a lane to myself. However, I have learned to celebrate the joy of sharing the lane with another person. So in that spirit, let us all co-create. Let us go of unnecessary limits. Let us do it with a measure of exuberant joy. And let us know a greater sense of inner freedom. Vamos. Thank you.